Nice to meet you.
Same here. Thank you. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
So this is Dr. Josh
Yes.
McCower. He's the founder and director of Stanford By Design.
Yes.
And we have, with your state, we've been discussing creating a new approach to health
Okay.
based on innovation that flips the healthcare pyramid
Very good.
and creates maybe $1 trillion health technology innovation ecosystem
Very good.
based in Maharashtra, but for the rest of the world.
Great.
So By Design is more health technology innovation
Okay.
framework. But if we combine that with industry partnership, which we're
Yeah.
going to talk about in a
Yeah.
session that's going to happen right after, we create a complete ecosystem that basically could, over the next 10 to 15 years, could become $1 trillion in value. So that's the goal.
Very good.
The purpose is to make Maharashtra the epicenter of that.
It's
So I
very
want to. I saw the Stanford Institute of Biodesign in November when I went to Austin and then to San Francisco. Professor Merrill showed me around, and I didn't get a chance to meet.
Josh was not there that day.
It's just remarkable. They have so many unicorns coming out of that place, and the kind of innovation that is happening on, especially on biodesign and instruments and implants and technologies they're using. It's just
Even AI-enabled
AI-enabled
solutions.
solutions.
So the idea is to create the next generation entrepreneurs, health tech
Yes.
entrepreneurs
Yes.
out of Mumbai.
very good.
And there are three main outcomes that we are
Yeah.
hoping for. And I would love for Josh to add. One is that it creates health technologies for India and
Yes.
for the rest of the world, number one. Number two, it brings more access to the underserved parts of the country.
Correct.
And third is it creates an economic activity that creates lots of jobs, high value jobs. Those are the three goals. And
Yeah.
we have had great success in our biodesign programs around the world. Josh, do you want to share it with?
Yeah, absolutely. So nice to meet you. Thanks for having us. It's a framework that we've used across the world to really create the opportunity for an ecosystem and a center point, but fundamentally based on training people and giving them the tools that they need to be able to solve problems for patients. And that foundation allows them to, not only create technologies and businesses,
Yes.
but also part of the ethos of by design is also to give back and train others. So you get this renewing source of energy through the number of people you train, and they train others, and it becomes a real force. And it's happened in many places across the world.
That's a great idea. I think. You would like to replicate it.
Yes.
And I met you a year and a half back.
Yeah.
You had said that we'll do this.
Yes.
So time is now.
Absolutely.
And this is why we now have a letter of strategic collaboration
Great.
that we would love to exchange.
Absolutely.
And our hope, Honorable Chief Minister, is that we move very quickly with it
Yeah,
because
yeah.
the window of opportunity is now.
Yeah.
In the matter of coming months, if we can.
I totally understand. Now we'll move very fast.
Thank you.
Rest assured.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Yeah. Bring the letter.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
You can.
Do I open it up?
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you much.
We have a team of 7 industry leaders.
Yeah.
These are people from Medtronic, Siemens,
Very good.
American College of Cardiology, venture capitalists that are going to discuss how we can contribute to $1 trillion value system. In a quick
Yeah. Yeah. Please come. Please have.
So we have CEO of Zimmer Biomet who really wanted to be here, couldn't find his
Okay.
parking spots for his plane. So he's joining by Zoom. We have Majid. Do you want to quickly, one sentence, summarize your background, or talk about your work, Majid? I'll just go through each of the roundtable participants.
Yeah.
Majid is part of Medtronic, which is the largest
Yes.
MedTech company in the world. But Majid, do you want to?
Manage Europe, Middle East, Africa, and Asia. I represent our CEO who couldn't make it, unfortunately. So he delegated to me, and we have a great activity and success stories back in the province. And I thank you very much for inviting us.
Right.
I'm going to start with Tisha. Tisha, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure, Tisha Boatman. I head up government affairs and external affairs for Siemens Healthineers globally, as well as health access.
Great.
My name is Ramnan Lakshminarayan. I teach at Princeton University in the US. I work mostly on One Health, on infectious
Okay.
diseases.
I have a health IT company in the US. Now we're building the biggest health IT company in the US. Bringing cricket to the US is my passion.
Oh,
He owns one of the cricket
Yes,
teams,
okay.
Premier League teams as well. But he's a health technology entrepreneur, very successful in Ami.
Dr. Ami Bhatt. I'm a Harvard professor and cardiologist, and I now serve as the Chief Innovation Officer for the American College of Cardiology,
oh,
where our global focus is prevention, especially in the South Asian diaspora, really focusing on what are the risk factors for cardiac disease before it actually happens.
This is a very powerful group, and these are the folks that
Absolutely.
make health technology innovation and health
Yes.
technology industry happen. And the reason they all come together is to really think about ways of partnering with Maharashtra state. The ideas that we talked
Yes.
about, $1 trillion
Yes.
in health technology ecosystem. Two of them represents the largest companies. And actually, on the video we have Mr. Tornas. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we
Yes.
can hear you.
All right, I want to start by saying that whoever told you that the reason that I'm not there is because I couldn't park my plane, it's a little bit of a crossover statement. That sounded awful. No, that's not the case. Definitely getting a landing spot these days at Davos is difficult, but that's not the reason why I'm not there. I'm here in Berlin at a meeting that I had in advance, but really excited about the conversation. I'm the chairman and CEO of the world's largest orthopedic company. It's a Fortune 500 company, really changing how we deliver orthopedic care. Very excited about India, very excited about the potential partnership, making very significant investments in the country, in your region, in your state. I'm really excited about where this conversation is going. I'm on the way to the Chief Minister. Congratulations, I was reading that you already signed 19 MOUs in the first 24 hours. And that was,
thank you.
Ivan, thank you so much for being able to join from Berlin. You can see that there are three very large companies
Yes.
featured here. We have innovators, Chief Innovation Officer from a cardiology conference society, Biodesign program, which is kind of wellspring of ideas. And then we have entrepreneurs who've been very successful and a venture capitalist
Correct.
who's been investing in the India-US corridor, and somebody who's built a lot of health technologies for underserved as well in Ramanan. We'd love to hear your thoughts, Honorable Chief Minister, about what drives Maharashtra towards this $1 trillion health technology innovation ecosystem. What are the sort of key rationales or reasons for us to sort of engage with Maharashtra?
I think, Maharashtra has always been at the forefront of, Indian economy, and of course, Mumbai is the financial capital of India. Having said that, now we are at a verge where, we are also part of the medical tourism. And we have been experiencing a lot of patients from many countries who are arriving in Mumbai, in parts of Maharashtra, where they are actually, becoming part of this ecosystem. And we feel that now is a time where we have to up our game, because
Yes.
if we want to become a $1 trillion economy, health and health tech
Yeah.
is something where we need to, invest more. We need to actually partner more with the technologies so that we take it to the next level.
Yeah.
And of course, Maharashtra will be the first state to achieve the $1 trillion, because we have already surpassed the $500 billion mark, and our nearest competitors are far behind us.
Yeah.
But I think that health tech is one sector where we have a long way to go.
Yeah.
And I think I would be very happy to hear from this panel
Yes.
how should we move ahead? What should be our roadmap, and
question.
how should we collaborate?
That's a great question. In fact, that's what I was going to come to, and I'm going to start with Majid here, and then I'm going to invite Josh to say. Majid, you have a lot of investment in Telangana, which is a competing state. It's a very traditional kind of investment. You've got a GCC there. I think what we are talking about here is a new era of health technology with AI and robotics and that actually really modularizes and bring care to the last mile. Can you talk a little bit about how Medtronic would want to partner with Maharashtra State as you think about that future?
Well, I think the group here is the right group, looking at finding partners that will help in enhancing that clinical capacity,
Yes.
from all the way from just gathering of the data to really arranging it in ways that would allow us to use it as a clinical system, producing studies and white papers for us is very important. And all the way to the stage where we could maybe work together in your journey towards the $1 trillion, in looking at healthcare as an investment versus a cost. I think a lot of the mistakes or the setbacks we are seeing in the more developed systems in the world, we can work together to make sure that in your systems you avoid it, or you make deliberate choices, knowing exactly what went wrong. And we have that visibility globally that we can bring to the table. And by doing that, we enable and give access to more advanced therapies, in which the ecosystem then becomes extremely complementary to the chain. It's easy for us to bring innovation centers, which collaborate with the clinical system,
Yes.
which eventually can lead into every sort of manufacturing and adoption. That's on the product side. But then the obvious string here being AI at the forefront of first of the Indian economy, but also of all of your startups, where India is today at the third level competing to the second. There is a lot we can do for both the patients on the device side, but also for the systems. And we as a company are trying to find ways to step into that systems area. It's more difficult in well-established healthcare delivery systems. And doing it when you're still an emerging system could make it easier for us to explore it. And I'm sure with the biosciences and with the involvement of the committees and the cardiology networks, that is core to India's need, and hopefully we can contribute also to the patient at the end of the cycle. So it's really very much connected. Our business to the ecosystem, to the clinical system, and then eventually makes it attractive enough to bring everything else. We have success stories on R&D. We have 1,500 engineers in India in multiple places. Maybe not yet.
As you expand,
yes.
Maharashtra will be a center.
To be more specific on the numbers, we went from $100 million spend to $500 million in 5 years.
Yeah.
And I think that I don't see it very far away from making another double. So maybe you would tell us how we should do it.
So all the three portfolios EVPs who are colleagues of Majid in MedSurg and cardiovascular and neurosciences are very bullish on India, and hopefully the future growth happens in Maharashtra. Josh, Majid talked about innovation, and this is the start of a conversation, Majid, not an end. So we're going to continue to build upon this, and we'll pin down exactly what Medtronic does in Maharashtra. But Josh, we just exchanged letters of strategic collaboration with Honorable Chief Minister about creating an innovation ecosystem and training innovation so that Maharashtra can develop an army of innovators for Maharashtra's needs, but India's needs and world's needs.
Absolutely.
Can you talk a little bit about what would it take for Maharashtra to succeed in this?
Yeah. Well, I think you've assembled the right group here, because it does take an ecosystem. The piece of it where we can be helpful, and where Anurag and his team have really invested in India, and we have over 11 biodesign programs across India. But this could be the very first state-sponsored one where it's really strategic. The piece of the ecosystem that we contribute to is really the innovation from within, to train the individuals in country to really identify the needs that are there and create businesses that make sense for that local environment. But you need the academics, you need the big companies, you need the venture capitalists, you need all those things to make it work. But fundamentally, the piece of the ecosystem that we have successfully, exercised in various parts of the world, including India, is really that creating the infrastructure within people, the belief in themselves to be able to tackle challenges that have never been solved before, but to look at it with a new lens and to be encouraged and have an ecosystem in which they can put their ideas to make impact.
Can I just add one very important point that started? So far, India was focused a lot on primary healthcare and infectious diseases, and most of the infectious diseases have been eliminated. So our longevity went up. In the last 10 years, we find that more than 54% of the premature mortality is due to non-communicable diseases.
Absolutely.
And the non-communicable diseases are not detected early. Neither do we have a huge manpower.
You're setting this up very well. The next question I was going to ask.
I want to tell you, so our Chief Minister, we just approved a project of $500 million with the Asian Development Bank, which is going to look at our primary healthcare system, which is basically looking at very A&M's nursing staff, but ensuring that they have all the diagnostic tools to detect cancer, cervical cancer, breast cancer early, and then give them a pathway of treatment which connects to the tertiary hospital, because we can't get all the tertiary hospitals. Today we have a huge congestion in our tertiary hospitals because we are not able to prevent or to detect early at stage 1. So that's one area where AI and diagnostic
Absolutely.
and we could work very well with this ADD project.
100%. So this is in fact very much scope. And I was going to come to Amit. So that's I didn't pay him to say.
No, it feels like you did. Yeah.
So Ami, cardiovascular disease burden, cancer, diabetes, these are major burdens for India. They're growing, and they are insidious because they evolve over a period of time, cost a lot of money to the state. You're a chief innovation officer at ACC. US is very well resourced. How could some of the lessons that you are learning from the work that has been done in the US last couple of decades be relevant to Maharashtra? And how could those lessons be, those could translate across other chronic conditions?
Absolutely. So I think, first of all, thank you for having us here. There are probably 3 areas that I would focus on. I think the first is I start with the patient. Cardiovascular disease is, in fact, now that we're thinking about non-communicable diseases, the #1 killer of Indians, period. And so with that in mind, we need the patients to be able to be engaged. And to do that, there is an incredible community of companies and technologies that allow wearables, that allow platforms where patients can actually measure themselves. If they don't measure themselves, we can't measure them. We've tried this for years. And so creating that infrastructure is really important. And we've done that with some partners in India so far. Would love to partner in Maharashtra to do that. So that's first, is educating the patient, having them bring all that data in. These are millions of data points about their heart rate, their blood pressure every day, all the time, that we can act on, that we haven't done. And so that's one of the things that we build. The second is looking in the hospital system itself at not treating, you mentioned cancer, right? For cancer, we do screening. For heart disease, we don't do screening.
Absolutely.
But we partner with Siemens Healthineers, with Medtronic at ACC to think about, okay, CAT scans, doing early ultrasound. When can you find the coronary disease sooner before they need the bypass?
Correct.
Because Indians cannot take a bypass. They have 2 small arteries. The bypasses often fail. We have to get them sooner. So partnering with the technology companies in the hospitals to say, how can we find those patients sooner? Even if you didn't go in for a CAT scan for your heart, I can still see your heart. So let's analyze it. So that's #2, is building that infrastructure. And then I think the third part that I think about is we don't have enough doctors. We probably don't have enough nurses. We have so many community health workers in India. There are so many people that we can use AI to help upskill. They don't have to do surgery like me.
Correct.
But they have to know this patient is sicker. Let's send them for care sooner. This patient is okay. They can go home, and we can set that kind of up. So infrastructure, patients measuring themselves, the technologies in the hospital finding patients sooner, and then really upskilling all the health workers so that they can do better work. And those are the 3 models we've worked in the US, but also abroad in Africa, in the Middle East, and starting to in India. So I think those would be the areas that we
Very
would focus
interesting.
on.
Brilliant.
Of course.
Yeah, before I bring two of you on access side and underserved communities, which is a big focus for the Honorable Chief Minister, I want to come to Ivan and then to Anurag. Ivan, you run the largest orthopedics device companies in the world. Robotics is starting to play a significant role in your work. How do you see India playing in that future? And you talked about some of the examples of things that you would want to do with the Honorable Chief Minister with Maharashtra. Can you talk a little bit more about that? Double click on that a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. So first things first, in early 2027, maybe late 2026, my company, Zimmer Biomed, will be the first company in the world of orthopedics to launch a fully autonomous robot for orthopedic care.
Oh.
And the clinical trial is actually happening in India at Shabby Hospital in, I'm going to mispronounce it, Ahmedabad. So I apologize for that. But we're making big bold bets in robotics. A lot of the clinical work is done in India, given the faster regulatory protocols, given the thought leadership that you have when it comes to robotic surgeries in orthopedics. And given the ecosystem that we have created. So we are very bullish about the fact that it's not just the robot that is groundbreaking, it's the fact that we're collecting data before the surgery that fits how the robot will do the case, that fits a smart implant, an implant that continues to track data when it comes to that patient. So it's not just what happens in the operating room that we care about, it's the entire episode of treatment. So again, we started the clinical trial probably 6 months ago. We're expanding. We're very excited about the ecosystem that the state is creating. We are transferring our GCC, that stands for the Global Capability Center. So I don't know when I have 1,500 R&D engineers like Medtronic in the next year, but for sure that is the vision over the next 3 to 5 years. So bringing R&D capabilities over to the state, bringing clinical trials over to the state, partnering with the thought leaders in the state. Really developing a strategy for India, given the great opportunity in the country and the state, but also India for the world.
Excellent.
Again, when we think of the state and we think of India as a country, it has also what we call the 3 T's of a partnership. You have the talent, you got the technology, and you got the timelines. A desire to move in an agile way to get things going at a faster manner. So again, really bullish on the opportunity, and more to come when it comes to fully autonomous robotics.
Like I said to Majid, Ivan, this is a start of a conversation. Expect to hear more from us on this, and let's continue to chat and build this up. I'm going to come to. Thank you so much. I'm going to come to Anurag. Anurag, you just sold a very large, very successful healthcare company based on technology. Health and technology is what you live on, and you had some very interesting ideas about what Maharashtra could do in terms of this new era of post-AI, health technology. Do you want to share a little bit about what your ideas are?
I mean, I think India will figure it out. I think you'll figure it out. First of all, you've got talent, you got money, and you got things. So I'll tell you what you shouldn't do. I'll tell you the mistakes that we made in the West, right? So today in the US, we have a fairly decent healthcare system, but it's broken. So when you get to that level of success, the pharmacy data sits in one place, the insurance data sits in another place, and the medical data sits in another place. And today we're in the process of forming the largest company to put it all together. Why we couldn't do it earlier, I can't explain to you, but it was possible. So if you imagine success is coming your way, then insist on interoperability.
Correct.
Whatever you're doing, you have to be interoperable like UPI. That is the one thing I would want you to mandate from day one.
Very valid solution.
Just do that. The second thing is that you're not going to catch up on the clinical capacity anytime soon, but AI is here to help. Eventually, you'll have an AI bot that will be personalized for every single person. So don't worry about building the capacity. The technology will be here to help you. So I know you'll figure it out. I'm just saying, focus on interoperability and help and ask for AI.
Great.
Okay, thank you. Tisha, I'm going to hold you, keep you for the last because I really want to end on that bang about access. But I'm going to have you come in, Ramanan. You've done a lot of work in global health technologies for underserved. During COVID-19, we collaborated on helping India with during crisis, especially during the second wave. Talk a little bit about what you learned from your experience on what Maharashtra could take away, and especially how do you make a viable health technology industry that serves the underserved as well?
So I teach, I'm a professor. But one of the things I did starting quite a few years ago, like Anurag was one of the early investors on it. So just for context, both of us go back to first standard.
Oh.
Both grew up in Chennai. So the problem statement was that most of rural India doesn't have access to diagnostics. Only 5 to 10% across India have access to diagnostics. When I talk about diagnostics, even taking a blood pressure as a diagnostic does not actually exist in most of these places. Even when the A&M goes, you take for any child, she would write 120 over 80 for every mother because they're not measuring.
Correct.
They're just trying to fill the registers. So we started with a product that could do all of the antenatal care visit for a patient using a small device that was first tested in 3 districts of Jammu, is now scaled up. It's now the largest selling point of care multi-parametric diagnostic called HealthQ. It's in every primary care clinic in Uttarakhand, for instance. It's in Meghalaya, it's in Gadchiroli, quite widely in Gadchiroli, and a few other Maharashtra districts which I'm not coming to the top of my head right now. But what this enables is, it enables someone with a 7th standard education to go out and be able to measure something like 60 parameters, whole range at a very affordable cost. And I think it also addresses the point that Anurag made, which is of interoperability. Because it is run off of a smartphone and it is basically this device which can be run by anyone, the data is then uploaded and connects with any system that you really wanted to, including NDHM, National Digital Health Mission. All of that is interoperable there. In fact, with eSanjeevani platform, this was the first hardware device that was fully integrated with eSanjeevani right from the get-go with CDAC. So all this was thought in place, but because it was designed not somewhere else, it was designed in India, it's made in Bangalore, the entire team sits in India, all the data is in India. It was a fully Indian product, which now has served more than about 3 million patients in India itself. I think, as Anurag says, many of the solutions that we will find in India will come from India itself. And in fact, Indian solutions will make a difference in the world. This device is now sold in Mexico. It's CE approved, can be sold in Europe as well. Because when you make for India, it actually becomes a very affordable product which is scalable, which harder to bring stuff in, but easier to take stuff out. So I would urge Maharashtra to be a leader in health tech innovation. We don't have to import health tech. We can be exporting health tech. And I think the time is now when Africa, all these places are making the investments in health. But I think what can be tried and tested like HealthQ in India can then make a huge difference. And I think it should also not be, you take health and wellness centers, which is probably what you're spending your 500 million, the Arogya Mandir and all of that. I think we can do this in much more cost-effective ways than going and replicating what others have done and say, I want to set up a lab, I want to get this machine, that machine. That is not going to work out for India at all. We need to have things which are very affordable, easy to use. And I'll conclude by saying, if I don't mind, I know your team, I will send you the best description of this, how it works, which was done by Mrs. Rajshri Birla.
Okay.
Because she was one of the early supporters of this, Vodafone Idea supported this, and she explains in a 10-minute video this entire system.
Wow.
And remember, she's not talking from a script, she's talking from the heart. Because, as you know, she's a social worker.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I will send that to you.
Please.
And then, better than me saying anything, you will hear from Mrs. Birla on what
Great.
Beautifully said, and as I expected you would, and that really is a very important point. And I think this goes back to all the multinationals that are on the call in here about engaging with India and partnering with India, and you're already investing. So you get the last word, Disha. One of the largest MedTech companies in the world. You have a lot of investment in India. You're working with India quite a bit. You lead access. You're the senior most leader at Siemens Healthineers for access. Talk about what sort of engagement you see with state of Maharashtra and with India, and especially innovation from the ground up within India for the rest of the world. And in the process, bringing access to 1.4 billion people and 5 billion people in Global South and 8 billion around the world.
Yeah, we have a super strong focus on access and on patient impact. I think you're partway there already, right? Having the vision to say we're going to invest in our own population, our own people, and also do medical tourism, right? There's no well-functioning health system in the world that doesn't have a level of care that's being provided at a very high end, that's being paid for, and then a certain amount of access care that's being paid for. I think a few things have already been said, but two things really stick out for me. One is the importance of diagnostics and really having diagnostics in the community, digitally connected. That is really how you will extend life, right? Even in the most well-developed, well-funded health systems, and I personally have been a breast cancer survivor in the Danish health system, right? If you don't detect early, you will not be able to clinically nor economically make a difference, a significant difference on health. You may be able to make an impact for that one patient, but you won't change a society and the community. And then the other thing I have heard a little bit about, but I just want to emphasize it on, building health systems is about investing also in local jobs, right? So there's the clinical jobs, there's the community health workers, there's the high-tech positions and things like that. But there's also a lot of STEM jobs, people to repair systems, people, data scientists, and so there's a whole ecosystem. If you look at communities in the United States, rural communities, very often the health system is the biggest employer, right?
Yeah.
And often combined with
Most people miss that point.
with an academic medical center. I mean, this is the center of a thriving community, and that's whether it's the urban core and a portion of Mumbai, or it's in a more rural location. That is really how you build foundational communities.
100%. I'm going to take a moment to acknowledge three people who have really been critical in bringing all of this together. The Deshpande brothers, Abhijit ji, Ashutosh ji, and Megha, my chief of staff. Thank you so much. And of course, Kaustav ji and rest of your team. It's been phenomenal working, bringing all of these are folks that have agreed to do this in a pretty short notice, mainly because we got a chance to meet with you and just kind of walk you through how we think about your call to action. This is a starting point. But hopefully we can make quick progress with first with our the letter that we exchange, and then engaging with these stakeholders.
Absolutely.
And I will think.
Thank you too.
My job was just to bring the right people to the room and let them say what they need to see. Ivan, thank you for being
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Anurag, just one last point though.
Yeah.
Thank each one of you to make it a short span.
Yes.
But there is a tremendous amount of startup ecosystem right now in India, especially in Maharashtra. Maharashtra is the startup capital of the country. And I invite all of you to invest in these startups. You're doing phenomenal job, and especially in the health tech space, where Dr. Anurag and me, we are involved in few of the startups in IIT Bombay. They're doing something phenomenal, which I think India should be making for India.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can we do a quick picture?
Yeah, please.
Let's all come together.
A little closer.
Okay.
We'll have to squeeze in. To fit in one picture, we'll have to squeeze in. Come this side, come this side.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Very nice.
It was great.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, and when we come home to Mumbai, I will come and find you.
Yes.